The alien jungle of Kepler 442b stretched endlessly in every direction, its crimson trees towering like cathedral spires against the purple sky. SEAL Team Alpha had been running for 3 days straight, their stolen Zephyrian intelligence burning like fire in their encrypted drives. The data they carried could turn the tide of the war that had raged across 12 star systems for the past decade. Lieutenant Commander Sarah, Chen wiped the sweat from her brow as she crouched behind a massive root system, her team of 5 scattered in defensive positions around her. The Zephyrian hunters were close, too close. Their biomechanical tracking hounds had been howling in the distance since dawn, and the metallic screech of their hover scouts grew louder with each passing hour. "Commander, we've got a problem," whispered Petty Officer Rodriguez, his voice crackling through the comm unit. He was positioned 50 meters ahead, acting as point man. "There's something blocking our path to the extraction zone." Chen activated her tactical display, watching as Rodriguez's camera feed painted a picture that made her blood run cold. Spread across a valley that stretched for nearly 2 kilometers, lay what could only be described as a graveyard of metal and bone. Twisted wreckage of various spacecraft dotted the landscape like tombstones, some human, some alien, all bearing the telltale signs of sudden, violent destruction. "Jesus Christ," muttered Sergeant Williams, the team's demolitions expert. "What the hell happened here?" Dr. Elena Vasquez, their xenobiologist and the only civilian on the team, adjusted her scanner with trembling fingers. "I'm reading massive electromagnetic disturbances throughout that entire valley. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. It's like the very ground itself is weaponized." Chen studied the tactical readout more carefully. The valley was their only route to the extraction point where the stealth frigate Defiance waited in orbit. Going around would add at least 2 days to their journey, and they didn't have 2 hours, let alone 2 days. The Zephyrians would catch them long before they reached safety. "It's a minefield," said Chief Petty Officer Hassan, the team's engineering specialist. His voice carried the weight of grim certainty. "But not like any minefield we've ever seen. Those energy readings suggest some kind of adaptive defensive system, probably Zephyrian technology, maybe even something older." The team gathered around Chen's position, their faces grim as they studied the scanner readings. The field stretched as far as their equipment could detect, with no clear safe passage visible. Worse, the energy signatures seemed to pulse and shift, suggesting the mines could move or reconfigure themselves. "Commander, contacts bearing 270, Rodriguez reported urgently. "I count at least 12 hover scouts moving fast. They'll be on us in 15 minutes, maybe less." Chen felt the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders like a physical force. Behind them, the most advanced alien military force in known space closed in for the kill. Ahead lay a death trap that had claimed dozens of ships and crews. The intelligence they carried was too valuable to lose, too important to let fall into enemy hands. "Options?" she asked her team, though she already knew what they would say. "We could try to fight our way back," suggested Williams, checking his ammunition count. "Find somewhere defensible and make a stand." "Against 12 hover scouts and whatever ground forces they're bringing?" Hassan shook his head. "We might take a few with us, but that's all." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her scanner, her face pale but determined. "There is another option. My readings suggest the mines respond to movement and electromagnetic signatures. If someone could map a safe path through the field, that's suicide," Rodriguez said flatly. "One wrong step and whoever goes first becomes space dust." Chen stared at the valley ahead, her mind racing through tactical scenarios. Every option led to the same conclusion. Someone would have to take that first step into the minefield, risking everything to guide the others through. It was a job for the commanding officer, but her team would never allow it. They would insist on drawing lots, on volunteering, on finding some other way. But Chen had already made her decision. She was responsible for these people, for the mission, for the intelligence that could save countless human lives across the galaxy. The buck stopped with her, and she had never asked her team to do anything she wouldn't do herself. The sound of Zephyrian engines grew louder, echoing off the alien trees like thunder. Time was running out, and someone had to take that first step into hell. Chen stood up, checking her gear one final time. Her pulse rifle was fully charged, her tactical suit systems running green across the board. Most importantly, the quantum encryption device containing the stolen Zephyrian battle plans was secured in her chest rig, protected by 3 layers of armor and a personal force field generator. Listen up, she said, her voice cutting through the growing sound of alien engines. I'm going to walk point through that field. Dr. Vasquez, I need you monitoring every electromagnetic pulse, every energy fluctuation. Hassan, keep our comm systems clean. I'll need constant contact with you to guide the team through safely. Ma'am, with respect, that's not happening. Rodriguez stepped forward, his jaw set with stubborn determination. I'm the point man on this team. It's my job. Like hell it is, Williams interrupted. I'm demolitions. I know mines better than anyone here. Chen raised her hand, silencing the brewing argument. This isn't up for debate. I'm going because I have the most complete tactical picture of our situation. Dr. Vasquez's scanner readings need to be interpreted in real time, and I have the training to make those split-second decisions while under fire. She wasn't telling them the complete truth. The real reason was simpler and more painful. She couldn't live with ordering one of her people to their death. If someone was going to die today, it would be her choice, her sacrifice. The first Zephyrian hover scout crested the ridge behind them, its insectoid form glinting in the alien sunlight. Chen could see its weapons arrays powering up, the distinctive blue glow of plasma cannons preparing to fire. Move out, she shouted, sprinting toward the edge of the minefield. Stay exactly in my footsteps. No deviations, no matter what. The first step into the valley felt like stepping off a cliff. Chen's boot touched the crimson soil, and immediately her tactical display exploded with warnings. Energy spikes registered all around her, and she could hear the high-pitched whine of defensive systems coming online. Electromagnetic surge directly ahead. Bearing 010, Dr. Vasquez's voice crackled through the comm. Shift left 2 meters. Chen adjusted her path, feeling sweat pour down her back despite the suit's climate control. Behind her, she could hear the distinctive crack of pulse rifle fire as her team engaged the lead Zephyrian scout. They were buying her time, but not much. 20 meters into the field, the first mine activated. Chen saw it rise from the ground like a metallic flower, its sensor arrays tracking her movement. She froze, every muscle in her body screaming at her to run, to dive, to do anything except stand perfectly still. Energy patterns suggest motion detection, Vasquez reported, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting behind them. It's scanning you, but not firing. Try moving very slowly to your right. Chen shifted her weight carefully, moving with the deliberate precision of a surgeon. The mine tracked her movement but didn't fire. She took another step, then another, gradually working her way around the deadly device. Contact down, Hassan reported. Williams got the scout, but I'm seeing more movement on the ridge. We've got maybe 5 minutes before they're in effective range. The next 100 meters became a deadly dance. Chen moved through the minefield like a ghost, following Dr. Vasquez's readings and her own combat instincts. Mines rose and fell around her like mechanical flowers, some tracking her movement, others seeming to respond to her heartbeat, her breathing, even her thoughts. Commander, you've got a problem. Rodriguez's voice carried a note of barely controlled panic. There's a cluster of 3 mines directly ahead, and they're all active. Dr. Vasquez says there's no safe path around them. Chen stopped, staring at the 3 metallic spheres that had emerged from the ground in a triangle formation. Each one was the size of a basketball, covered in sensor arrays and weapons ports. They hummed with malevolent energy, their surfaces rippling with patterns of light that made her eyes water. Behind her, the battle was intensifying. She could hear the distinctive whine of Zephyrian plasma weapons now, and the sharp crack of human pulse rifles in response. Her team was outnumbered and outgunned, holding their position only through superior training and tactical skill. Options, Doc? Chen asked, studying the mines carefully. The energy signatures suggest they're networked, Vasquez replied. They're communicating with each other, sharing targeting data. If one fires, they all fire. But there might be a way to confuse their sensors. Chen waited, watching as the mines slowly rotated to track her position. She was the key to her team's survival, the only one who could guide them safely through this mechanical hell. But to do that, she had to survive the next few seconds. What do you need me to do, Doc? The mines are using overlapping sensor fields to create a targeting solution, Dr. Vasquez explained rapidly. But if you can disrupt their communication network, even for a few seconds, you might be able to slip through the gap. Chen studied her tactical display, watching the energy patterns flow between the 3 mines like digital lightning. How do I disrupt them? Your suit's electronic warfare package, Hassan interrupted from his position. It's designed for jamming Zephyrian communications, but the principle should be the same. Dr. Vasquez, can you isolate the frequency they're using? Behind them, the firefight was growing more intense. Chen could hear Williams shouting coordinates for covering fire, and the distinctive thump of grenades detonating against energy shields. They were holding their ground, but barely. Got it, Vasquez reported. The mines are using a rotating frequency pattern, but there's a 3-second window every 30 seconds, where they have to resynchronize. If you activate your jammer at exactly the right moment, I'll have maybe 2 seconds to get through before they lock onto me again, Chen finished. That's not much time. It's what we've got, Commander, Rodriguez said grimly. And those Zephyrian reinforcements just cleared the ridge. We're looking at least 20 hostiles now. Chen activated her suit's electronic warfare package, feeling the subtle hum as the jamming systems came online. The mines immediately reacted, their rotation speeding up as they tried to compensate for the interference. 30 seconds, she whispered, watching the timer count down on her display. Around her, the minefield seemed to pulse with malevolent life. Other mines were beginning to emerge from the ground, responding to the electromagnetic disturbance she was creating. 20 seconds. The sound of battle behind her was reaching a crescendo. She could hear Rodriguez calling out targets, Williams coordinating suppressing fire. Her team was professional, disciplined, but they couldn't hold forever. 10 seconds. Chen tensed, every muscle in her body coiled like a spring. She had one chance at this. One moment when the mines would be blind and confused. If she missed the window, she would die and her team would be trapped between the minefield and an overwhelming enemy force. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. Mark. Chen sprinted forward just as her jammers hit the precise frequency Dr. Vasquez had identified. The 3 mines immediately began spinning wildly, their sensor arrays tracking empty air as their targeting systems crashed and reset. She dove between the first 2 mines, rolling under their weapon ports as they swiveled frantically overhead. The 3rd mine was directly in her path, its metallic surface gleaming with deadly promise. Chen planted her left foot and launched herself into a flying leap, clearing the mine by inches as its systems came back online. She hit the ground hard, rolling to absorb the impact, and immediately scrambled to her feet. Behind her, the 3 mines had reacquired their targets and were tracking her movement, but she was already past their engagement zone. I'm through, she reported breathlessly, continuing toward the extraction point. Follow my exact path. The mines have a memory system, and they shouldn't reactivate in areas I've already cleared. The rest of her team began moving through the minefield, following the safe corridor she had carved through the defensive network. Rodriguez came first, his rifle ready, covering their retreat as Williams and Hassan helped Dr. Vasquez navigate the treacherous terrain. But the Zephyrians weren't giving up. Chen could see hover scouts beginning to circle the minefield, looking for another way around. Worse, she spotted the distinctive energy, signature of a Zephyrian battle walker cresting the ridge, a 12-foot-tall biomechanical nightmare, capable of reducing her entire team to ash in seconds. We need to move faster, she called back to her team. They're bringing up heavy support. The next section of the minefield was even more densely packed with defensive systems. Chen found herself weaving between mines that rose from the ground like deadly mushrooms, each one tracking her movement with mechanical precision. Some were obviously designed to target vehicles, their massive blast radii capable of vaporizing a tank. Others were smaller, more insidious, designed to cripple and maim rather than kill outright. Commander, I'm reading a massive energy buildup directly ahead, Dr. Vasquez reported. It's not like the other mines. This one's different. Chen stopped, studying the terrain ahead. In the center of a small clearing, she could see what looked like a crystalline formation jutting from the ground. It was beautiful in its own way, like a sculpture made from purple glass and silver wire. But her tactical display was showing energy readings that made her blood run cold. It's not a mine, she realized. It's a control node. The whole minefield is being coordinated from that position. Hassan's voice crackled through the comm. Commander, if you could disable that node, the entire defensive network would shut down, Chen finished. We could walk straight through to the extraction point. But the node was positioned in the center of the most heavily defended section of the minefield. To reach it, she would have to navigate through at least 20 active mines, each one capable of killing her instantly. And behind her, the Zephyrian battle walker was beginning to pick its way around the edge of the minefield, looking for a clear shot. Chen checked her equipment one more time. Her rifle was still fully charged, her armor systems nominal. The encryption device containing the stolen intelligence pulsed steadily against her chest, reminding her of what was at stake. "I'm going for the node," she announced. The crystalline control node pulsed with alien energy, casting shifting shadows across the minefield as Chen approached. Each step required absolute precision, guided by Dr. Vasquez's increasingly frantic readings and her own combat instincts honed by 15 years of special operations. "Energy spike to your left," Vasquez warned. 3 meters coming up fast. Chen shifted right just as a mine erupted from the ground where she would have stepped. The device was different from the others, sleeker, more aggressive, with weapon ports that tracked her movement like predatory eyes. She could feel its targeting system painting her with invisible lasers, calculating firing solutions. "That's a hunter-killer variant," Hassan observed grimly. "It's not stationary like the others." "Commander, that thing is going to follow you." Behind her, the Zephyrian battlewalker had found a position overlooking the minefield. Chen could see its massive plasma cannon swiveling to track her movement, the weapon's charging cycle creating an ominous whine that carried across the valley. Her team was pinned down behind a cluster of wreckage, unable to advance while the walker maintained overwatch. "How much farther to the node?" Rodriguez asked, his voice tight with strain. Chen could hear pulse fire in the background as her team engaged Zephyrian infantry attempting to flank their position. 50 meters, Chen replied, diving behind a twisted piece of hull plating as the hunter-killer mine opened fire. Purple energy bolts sizzled through the air where she had been standing, leaving smoking craters in the alien soil. The mine began moving toward her position, its repulsor system allowing it to hover a meter off the ground. Chen could see other mines throughout the area beginning to activate, responding to the control node's commands like soldiers answering a call to arms. "Doc, I need something," Chen said urgently. "This thing's not going to give up and I can't reach the node with it hunting me." Dr. Vasquez's scanner readings painted a complex picture on Chen's tactical display. The hunter-killer mine was connected to the control node through a quantum entanglement link, receiving real-time updates on her position and movement patterns. "The mine's targeting system has a vulnerability," Vasquez reported suddenly. "It's using predictive algorithms based on human movement patterns. But those algorithms assume normal human limitations." "What do you mean?" Chen asked, watching as the mine circled around her cover, looking for a clear shot. "Your tactical armor has enhanced servos, amplified reflexes. If you could move faster than the mine's prediction algorithms expect, you might be able to confuse its targeting system long enough to get past it." Chen felt a cold smile cross her face. The tactical armor's combat enhancement system was designed for brief bursts of superhuman performance. Faster reflexes, enhanced strength, improved coordination. Using it was painful and exhausting, but it might give her the edge she needed. "Cover me," she told her team, then activated the enhancement system. The world exploded into hyperclarity. Chen could see individual dust motes floating in the air, could track the mine's weapon ports as they swiveled to follow her movement. Her enhanced reflexes kicked in just as the mine fired, allowing her to twist aside from energy bolts that seemed to crawl through the air like purple lightning. She sprinted toward the control node, her enhanced legs carrying her across the treacherous ground in leaping bounds that defied human limitations. The hunter-killer mine struggled to track her erratic movement, its targeting algorithms failing to predict her next position. Other mines rose from the ground around her, but Chen was moving too fast for their activation sequences. She leaped over a cluster of anti-personnel devices, rolled under the firing arc of a heavy plasma mine, and sprinted through a gap between two defensive nodes that were still powering up. The control node loomed ahead of her, beautiful and terrible in its alien complexity. Chen could see data streams flowing through its crystalline structure like liquid light, coordinating the defensive network with inhuman precision. But as she approached the final 20 meters, her enhancement system began to fail. The artificial boost to her reflexes was fading, leaving her muscles screaming with exhaustion and her vision blurring from the strain. Behind her, the hunter-killer mine had reacquired her position and was closing fast. "Commander, you've got multiple contacts converging on your position," Rodriguez reported. "The whole network is activating." Chen could see mines emerging from the ground all around the control node like metallic flowers blooming in fast forward. Each one was different, some designed for area denial, others for precision strikes, a few that looked capable of leveling city blocks. She had perhaps 10 seconds before they all achieved target lock, and turned the clearing into a killing field. The stolen intelligence burned against her chest, reminding her of the thousands of human lives that depended on her mission's success. "Doc, how do I shut down the node?" she asked, raising her rifle toward the crystalline structure. "The control matrix is protected by adaptive shielding," Vasquez replied rapidly. "Standard weapons won't penetrate it." "But if you could overload the quantum entanglement network, how?" "The encryption device you're carrying. It's designed to interface with Zephyrian quantum systems. If you could link it directly to the control node, the feedback loop might cause a cascade failure." Chen stared at the device strapped to her chest. It contained the most valuable intelligence humanity had ever captured. Battle plans, fleet movements, technological specifications that could change the course of the war. Using it to overload the control node would mean sacrificing their primary objective to complete the mission. The mines around her were almost ready to fire. The Zephyrian battlewalker was repositioning for a clear shot. Her team was trapped behind her, unable to advance or retreat safely. Chen made her decision. Chen ripped the encryption device from her chest rig, feeling the weight of the decision in her hands. The device contained intelligence worth more than the GDP of entire star systems. Zephyrian fleet deployment schedules, technological blueprints, and strategic plans that could save millions of human lives across the galaxy. But her team was trapped, and sometimes a leader had to choose between victory and survival. "Commander, what are you doing?" Hassan's voice carried a note of horror as he realized what she was planning. "Buying us a way out," Chen replied grimly, sprinting toward the control node as targeting lasers painted her from a dozen different angles. The crystalline structure towered above her, its faceted surface reflecting the purple sky of Kepler 442b in infinite variations. Chen could see the quantum data streams flowing through its core like trapped lightning, coordinating the defensive network with mathematical precision. She slammed the encryption device against the node's base, feeling its quantum interface systems automatically attempting to establish a connection. The device had been designed to hack Zephyrian computer networks, but using it this way was like turning a scalpel into a sledgehammer. "Connection established," the device's AI announced in her earpiece. "Warning, quantum feedback detected. Cascade failure imminent." The first mine fired just as the encryption device began its work. Chen dove aside as a purple energy bolt seared the air where she had been standing, feeling the heat wash over her armor's cooling systems. The control node began to pulse with increasingly violent light, its crystalline structure resonating with harmonics that made her teeth ache. "It's working," Dr. Vasquez reported excitedly. "The quantum entanglement network is destabilizing. I'm reading power fluctuations throughout the entire minefield." Chen looked around to see mines throughout the area beginning to malfunction. Some were powering down completely, their weapon systems going dark. Others were spinning wildly, their targeting sensors tracking phantom contacts. A few had begun firing randomly, their energy bolts creating a light show against the alien sky. But the hunter-killer mine was still functional, and it was closing fast. Chen could see its plasma cannon charging for a final shot, its targeting system locked onto her position with mechanical determination. "Commander, get down," Rodriguez shouted. The mine fired just as Chen threw herself behind the control node. The energy bolt struck the crystalline structure, adding its destructive force to the cascade failure already in progress. The node's surface cracked like breaking glass, releasing streams of quantum energy that danced through the air like aurora. "The whole network's going down," Hassan reported. "I'm reading total system failure across the entire minefield." Chen watched as mines throughout the valley began powering down in sequence, their threatening hums fading to silence. The hunter-killer mine that had been stalking her suddenly dropped from the sky like a stone, its repulsor systems failing as the control network collapsed. But their celebration was short-lived. The Zephyrian battlewalker had found a clear firing position, and its massive plasma cannon was already charged and ready. "Everyone move," Chen shouted, sprinting away from the dying control node. The minefield's down, but we're not clear yet. Her team emerged from their defensive positions, following her toward the extraction point at a dead run. The valley floor was littered with deactivated mines and the wreckage of vehicles that hadn't been as fortunate as they were. Behind them, the battlewalker's plasma cannon discharged with a sound like thunder. The energy bolt struck the crystalline control node dead center, vaporizing what remained of the structure in a brilliant flash of light. Shockwaves from the explosion knocked Chen to her knees, her armor's system struggling to compensate for the electromagnetic pulse. "Keep moving," she ordered, hauling herself back to her feet. "That walker's recharging for another shot." They ran through the deactivated minefield like survivors fleeing a disaster zone. Inactive mines lay scattered around them like metallic corpses, their threatening presence reduced to silent monuments to alien engineering. Dr. Vasquez stumbled over a piece of wreckage, and Williams grabbed her arm to keep her moving. "Extraction point dead ahead," Rodriguez reported breathlessly. "I can see the beacon." The Zephyrian battlewalker fired again, its plasma bolt gouging a crater in the ground just meters behind them. Chen could feel the heat from the near miss through her armor's thermal protection, and she knew they wouldn't survive another shot that close. "There," Hassan pointed toward a cluster of rocks near the extraction point. "Natural cover." They dove behind the stone formation just as the battlewalker fired its third shot. The plasma bolt struck the rocks directly, superheating the stone and filling the air with clouds of vaporized minerals. Chen's tactical display showed her armor's temperature readings climbing toward critical levels. "Extraction team, this is Alpha Leader," she called into her comm unit. "We're at the beacon, taking heavy fire from Zephyrian armor. We need immediate dust-off." "Alpha Leader, this is Defiance," came the reply from orbit. "We see your beacon. Dropship is inbound, ETA 90 seconds. Can you hold?" Chen looked back toward the battlewalker, watching as its plasma cannon began charging for another shot. The massive war machine was methodically working its way around the minefield, using its sensors to plot a safe path through the deactivated defensive network. "We'll hold," she replied, checking her rifle's charge level. "But make it fast." The Zephyrian battlewalker emerged from the minefield like a mechanical nightmare, its 12-foot frame moving with predatory grace despite weighing several tons. Chen could see its biomechanical components pulsing with alien life. Organic neural networks interfaced with advanced weapons systems, creating a fusion of biology and technology that had terrorized human forces across the galaxy. 60 seconds until extraction," Chen called to her team, watching as the walker's sensor arrays swept across their position. "Williams, what do you have left in your demo kit?" "Two shaped charges and a plasma grenade," the demolitions expert replied grimly. "Not nearly enough to scratch that thing's armor." The battlewalker's plasma cannon swiveled toward their position, its charging cycle creating an ominous whine that seemed to resonate in Chen's bones. She could see smaller weapons ports opening along the machine's torso. Anti-personnel systems designed to flush targets from cover. "Spread out," she ordered. "Don't give it a concentrated target." Her team scattered among the rocks just as the walker opened fire. Pulse laser beams swept across their position like deadly searchlights, superheating stone and filling the air with clouds of vaporized rock. Chen rolled behind a boulder as energy bolts sizzled past her head. 30 seconds, came the voice from the Defiance. "Dropship is breaking atmosphere now." Chen could hear the distinctive sound of Zephyrian hover scouts in the distance, converging on their position from multiple directions. The battlewalker had called for support, and soon they would be facing overwhelming odds. "Rodriguez, Hassan, give me covering fire on that walker," she ordered. "Williams, Dr. Vasquez, watch our flanks for those scouts." Her team responded with disciplined precision, their pulse rifles sending streams of coherent energy toward the battlewalker's sensor arrays. The shots sparked harmlessly off the machine's armor, but they served their purpose, forcing the walker to adjust its targeting solutions and buying precious seconds. The walker's plasma cannon fired again, its energy bolt striking the rocks with devastating force. The explosion threw Chen backward, her armor's systems flashing warning lights as debris rained down around her. Through the smoke and dust, she could see the machine advancing toward their position. 15 seconds. Chen looked up to see a Zephyrian hover scout cresting the ridge to their east, its weapons ports glowing with charged energy. More contacts were appearing on her tactical display, at least 6 enemy units converging on their position. "Contact east." Williams shouted, sending a burst of pulse rifle fire toward the approaching scout. His shots forced the alien craft to adjust its attack run, but it was still closing fast. The battlewalker was now close enough that Chen could see the details of its construction. Organic neural pathways pulsing with bioluminescent signals, weapon systems that seemed to grow from its frame like metallic tumors. It was a perfect fusion of Zephyrian biotechnology and engineering, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "There," Dr. Vasquez pointed toward the sky. "I can see the dropship." A sleek human craft was diving through the atmosphere like a falling star, its stealth coating shimmering as it shed velocity. Chen could see its weapons ports opening, preparing to provide close air support. The battlewalker detected the incoming threat and swiveled its plasma cannon skyward. Chen realized with horror that the dropship was flying directly into the machine's firing arc. "Dropship, brake left," she shouted into her comm. "You're flying into a firing solution." But the pilot had already seen the danger. The dropship rolled hard to port just as the battlewalker fired, the plasma bolt missing by mere meters. The pilot responded by activating the ship's particle beam arrays, sending streams of coherent energy down toward the walker's position. The beam struck the battlewalker's left leg, causing the machine to stumble but not fall. Its armor was too thick, its construction too robust to be destroyed by the dropship's relatively light weaponry. "Alpha Team, this is your ride," the pilot's voice crackled through the comm. "I'm coming in hot, but I can't stay long. Those scouts are vectoring in from all directions." The dropship descended toward their position like an avenging angel, its landing thrusters kicking up clouds of dust and debris. Chen could see the rear cargo ramp beginning to lower, revealing the safety of the passenger compartment beyond. "Move, move, move," she shouted, leading her team toward the landing craft. They sprinted across the open ground as energy bolts filled the air around them. The battlewalker's anti-personnel systems tracked their movement, sending streams of pulse laser fire that turned the ground into a hellscape of superheated stone and molten metal. Rodriguez reached the dropship first, diving through the open cargo ramp as hover scouts converged from 3 directions. Hassan and Williams followed, dragging Dr. Vasquez between them as she clutched her precious scanner data. Chen was the last to reach the ship, turning to provide covering fire as her team secured themselves in the passenger compartment. She could see the battlewalker adjusting its aim toward the dropship, its plasma cannon beginning another charging cycle. "Go, go, go," she shouted to the pilot diving through the cargo ramp as it began to close. The dropship lifted off just as the battlewalker fired. The plasma bolt passed through the space where they had been hovering seconds before, striking the rocky outcrop and turning it into a cloud of vaporized stone. "All aboard," the pilot reported grimly. "Hang on, this is going to get rough." The dropship climbed rapidly, its engines screaming as it fought to reach escape velocity. Behind them, the Zephyrian forces were converging on the extraction site, their weapons lighting up the alien sky with streams of deadly energy. But they were too late. The humans had escaped the trap, carrying with them something far more valuable than the stolen intelligence they had sacrificed. 3 hours later, aboard the stealth frigate Defiance, Chen sat in the debriefing room facing Admiral Sarah Morrison via quantum comlink. The Admiral's weathered face showed the strain of commanding humanity's war effort across 12 star systems, but her eyes were sharp as she reviewed the mission report. "Let me understand this correctly, Commander," Admiral Morrison said, her voice carrying across the light years with crystal clarity. "You sacrificed our most valuable intelligence asset to disable an alien minefield?" Chen straightened in her chair, meeting the Admiral's gaze without flinching. "Yes, ma'am. The encryption device was our only option for overloading the control network. Without that sacrifice, my team would have been trapped between the minefield and overwhelming enemy forces." Dr. Vasquez leaned forward from her position at the briefing table. "Admiral, with respect, what we discovered may be more valuable than the stolen battle plans." Admiral Morrison's eyebrows rose slightly. "Explain." "The minefield wasn't just a defensive system," Vasquez continued, her excitement barely contained. "It was a testing ground. The Zephyrians have been using that valley to evaluate human tactical responses, studying how our forces react to various defensive scenarios." Hassan pulled up a holographic display showing the energy readings they had collected during their passage through the minefield. "The mines weren't trying to kill everything that entered the field, Admiral. They were collecting data, movement patterns, decision-making processes, tactical adaptations. Every ship that died in that valley taught them something new about human military doctrine. The implications hit Admiral Morrison like a physical blow." Chen could see the realization dawning in the older woman's eyes as she understood what they had discovered. "They've been learning from us," the Admiral said quietly. "Every battle, every engagement, every tactical innovation we've developed, they've been studying it all and adapting their strategies accordingly." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "That explains why their tactics have been evolving so rapidly, why they seem to anticipate our battle plans before we implement them." They're not just fighting us, they're learning from us. Williams, still checking his equipment from the mission, looked up from his weapons maintenance. But we shut down their data collection system. That control node was coordinating more than just the minefield. It was transmitting tactical intelligence back to their fleet command. Chen felt a surge of pride in her team's professionalism. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, they had continued to observe, analyze, and adapt. It was exactly the kind of thinking that made human forces so effective against technologically superior opponents. There's more, Dr. Vasquez added, pulling up another display. The quantum entanglement network we disrupted was connected to similar systems throughout Zephyrian space. By overloading their control node, we may have caused cascade failures in other intelligence-gathering operations. Admiral Morrison studied the data for several long moments, her tactical mind processing the implications. When she looked up, there was something new in her expression. Hope. Commander Chen, I'm upgrading your mission status from partial failure to complete success, she announced. The intelligence you sacrificed may have been valuable, but what you discovered and disrupted is priceless. You've given us something we haven't had since this war began, a tactical advantage. Chen felt the weight of command lifting from her shoulders. The decision to sacrifice their primary objective had been agonizing, but sometimes leadership meant making impossible choices with incomplete information. What are your orders, Admiral? She asked. You and your team are being reassigned to naval intelligence. We need people who can think outside conventional parameters, who can adapt to unexpected situations and make critical decisions under pressure. Your experience with Zephyrian adaptive systems makes you invaluable for our next phase of operations. Hassan leaned back in his chair, a tired smile crossing his face. Does this mean we get a vacation first? Admiral Morrison's expression softened slightly. 48 hours of shore leave on New Geneva Station. Then you report to Intelligence Command for briefing on Operation Mindbridge. As the comm link closed, Chen looked around at her team, these extraordinary individuals who had followed her into hell and back again. They had lost their primary objective but gained something far more valuable, proof that human adaptability and courage could overcome any obstacle, no matter how impossible it seemed. You know what this means, Rodriguez said, breaking the contemplative silence. What? Williams asked. It means the Zephyrians made a critical error. They assumed they could predict human behavior, study us like laboratory specimens. But they forgot the most important thing about humanity. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her scanner data. Which is? Rodriguez smiled, the expression carrying all the pride and defiance that had driven humanity to the stars. We don't just adapt to challenges. We take that first step into the unknown, even when we don't know if we'll survive it. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us dangerous. Chen nodded, thinking about that moment when she had stepped into the minefield, not knowing if each footfall would be her last. It hadn't been about tactics or strategy or military doctrine. It had been about a simple human truth. Sometimes, when everything depends on it, someone has to take that first step. The war was far from over, but for the first time since it began, humanity had shown the galaxy something that no amount of technology could replicate. The willingness to sacrifice everything for the people you lead, and the courage to step into the unknown when everyone is counting on you. Outside the viewports of the Defiance, the stars wheeled in their ancient patterns, indifferent to the struggles of the species that had learned to travel between them. But among those stars, humanity had carved out a place for itself through sheer determination and the kind of leadership that asks not what is possible, but what is necessary. And sometimes what is necessary is taking that first step into a minefield, trusting in your team and your training and your own human courage to see you through to the other side.